Are we rolling?
They turned me on.
Good.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning for this Around the Valuation World morning show. I'm Brian Jones with the NACVA, and Greg Caruso on the end is the senior editor for the monthly webcast. Greg, you want to give a quick update about what AVW is all about?
Sure. I'm the editor, as Brian said, of Around the Valuation World, and we like to view it as the most interesting 2 hours in business valuation monthly. It's a monthly webinar, and we have, actually the best part is we do lots of interviews with really quality people. We'll talk a little more about that at the end of this broadcast. This morning, this is our conference version. This morning, tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, we will run a 50-minute session that's a little bit like the show. It's a little different because it's converted for the conference here. So thank you all for being here at least what for me is an early hour. My children moved out and I sleep in the morning a little longer, but we're glad you all don't, and we're glad you could be here this morning.
We're also very happy for those of you who are joining us on YouTube Live this morning. Good morning. The AVW show, as Greg mentioned, covers in quick segments on a monthly webcast great topics ranging from business valuation to financial litigation and related specialties. Another quick update is those special guests include individuals like Jim Hitchner, Dr. Aswak Damodaran, talking about current trends and things happening. So if you're not a subscriber to AVW, we encourage you to become one. It's a great opportunity to just, as Greg indicated, to keep up to date on everything that's happening. This morning, we're going to talk about a lot of things that are happening within the NACVA. As members, we try to keep you up to date on not only technical developments, training, and education, but our goal from a headquarters perspective is also to provide you with other resources and tools so that you can be successful in your practice beyond just the technical competence. I have with me this morning Chris Bushey, who is the outgoing chair of NACVA's Executive Advisory Board, and Rebecca Smith, who is the incoming chair of NACVA's Executive Advisory Board. She will begin serving her second term as chair of this board. And the Executive Advisory Board is really the strategic board for the organization, which oversees our other governing boards, our Valuation Credentialing Board, our Litigation Forensics Board, our Ethics Oversight Board, our Standards Board, and I'm sure I'm forgetting one. And that is not important anymore. All of our important boards. But from an Executive Advisory Board position in the last year, we've done some really incredible things to move our association forward and the profession forward. One of them being we've been partnering with a number of universities and colleges. The MBA schools of economics, finance, and accounting have adopted the curriculum for the certified valuation analyst and are integrating that into their master's level courses so their students who take the curriculum and the proctored exam or completing the case study can be on their path to achieving the CVA by the time they graduate with their master's degree. It's an opportunity for these younger professionals to get into the profession sooner. And for those of you who have firms looking for qualified staff, we're hoping in the next several years to be providing you more resources for quality valuation experts. Chris, Rebecca, from your perspective and working on the EAB over these last few months, why do you feel like it was important that we take on this type of initiative?
Well, I think it's really important. It's a feeder program. It also sets NACVA up as a industry leader rather than the AICPA or anything else. We're setting kind of what the curriculum is. It's a great feeder program for new members to get someone involved, and it's also a great resource for existing members when they're looking to add people to their firms?
I think it serves two purposes. You're finding those students that are interested in valuation early, and then they can get a jump start on their career. So there's a huge benefit to the students. Laurie Maston's teaching this at UD in Colorado, and she was telling a story last night about the students are getting really great signing bonuses because they're coming to firms with already a huge investment that we would have otherwise made. And to me, that's sort of the second part of this, is the economics to each of us as business owners. So if I want to send someone through the program, I've got to pay for the program, pay for their travel and housing for a week. There's the sort of lost time of them being in the class and doing the case study. But they're going to come to me with that investment and ready to hit the ground running on valuations. So that's, sort of the economics to me as a business owner, it's such a huge benefit to be able to have those folks.
How did you guys both find your way into your profession? I mean, into valuation?
By complete accident.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So I started with Garth Tebay, who's a NACDA member, and I was going to do, tax and audit, and he had just started doing this, and I thought it was interesting, and got pulled in on a few projects. I will say at one point I did want to go to law school, so I did think about going to law school and took Yale SATs, but then sort of saw this path to be able to keep going with the numbers, and now my practice is pure litigation, so it's kind of a perfect blend, but it was completely by accident. I was going to be an auditor. Ugh. No offense to the auditors in the room.
Yeah, and I was doing litigation already, and this was back in the early 1990s. And I heard about NACBA, and I thought it was interesting and would provide an interesting framework to kind of overlay on a lot of litigation projects I was working on. And so I went to the training and just kind of took it from there.
Well, it's certainly from the perspective of having now partnered with about a dozen different universities across the U.S., it's been the feedback we've received from those students is they had absolutely no idea that this profession even exists, or our opportunity for them to specialize in something like valuation. So it's been unique for them, not to find it by accident, to intentionally want to move into this career. Another one of the things that we've been working on from an executive advisory board perspective has been creating opportunities for our members to build their reputation by getting involved in the association, whether it be writing an article for any of our journals or publications or blogs, participating in around the Valuation World program, getting involved on a board or a committee. The organization, NACVA, and many of you as many longtime members, going back to my original comment, our goal isn't just to provide technical knowledge, but opportunities that you can get involved to increase your brand as an expert. Why do you think it would be critical or important for individuals to get involved in the organization from that perspective?
Well, I think it's just you get a lot more out of an organization the more involved you are. You see how things operate. It gives you different growth opportunities. You really do expand your knowledge base, make additional contacts. The way I got involved was, I moved to a small state, became the state chapter president, and then I moved back to a big state. That got kind of expensive. There's probably less expensive options to get involved in the organization. And then I got involved in some of the different committees and boards. But for me, it's just a lot more enjoyable to get involved, and you get a lot more out of it. You see how other people are operating their businesses, what niches they're in, and then just the resource base that you kind of build just through connections is really, really wonderful.
I would say that NACV community is sort of like no other. I mean, technically we're all competitors in this room, but some of my most trusted advisors are also sitting in this room, people that I pick up the phone and call when I'm just wrestling with a problem and want to, get a perspective. And I think I've got, some other folks in the room who call me and do the same thing. I want to see them succeed. They want to see me succeed. I've had some amazing, amazing mentors at NACVA over the years who've really helped me. I originally got involved for kind of selfish reasons. I started testifying and didn't have a tremendous amount of experience. And for any of you who testify, there's that catch-22. Have you ever testified before? No. Well, then we can't have you testify. And it's like, well, then how am I going to get that first piece of testimony? Which might dovetail nicely into your next section that you're going to talk about. And so I decided that the way I was going to credential myself is I was going to be one of the most involved people in the industry that you've ever seen. So that even though I was getting up there and testifying and saying that I only had X number of years of experience, I was on the standards board and I helped write questions for quizzes and I graded the quizzes. And I basically did anything Brian asked me to do at first, but it was fantastic because that is sort of how I started to build this network of people who have become, my community of support. I have a pretty small practice group. There's only 5 of us, and sometimes it's nice to be able to have I have a much bigger practice group thanks to the NACVA community.
Well, thank you both for supporting the organization and from your perspectives of chairing the EAB. We look forward to another year with you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you both.
All right.
Thank you.
Another pretty incredible thing we're doing as our next guests are coming up. We have struck a partnership with the Expert Witness Exchange. It is an organization where NACVA members will be able to qualify through their expert directory and have an opportunity to be searched by attorneys who would like to engage you for various purposes. I have with me Melinda, and Simon, both with the Expert Witness Exchange. And so tell us a little bit about the program.
Well, the Expert Witness Exchange is developing a marketplace for attorneys and experts to engage and locate each other and transact business directly. What we're doing with your organization is you are becoming a channel partner, which means that we will have special incentives and programs for you. In addition to that, we are also committed to sort of elevating the expert witness industry itself. When you think about an industry where you have people from all kinds of disciplines coming in, nobody's really monitoring that and setting the bar of where, what level of education, what level of certification they should have to be an expert witness. Each individual association may do that, but nobody's kind of doing that globally. So we're providing the validation badge, which is a vetting process that the experts will go through. And what will happen is everything in their background, their testimony, their qualifications and credentials will be checked out, and they'll be given a badge, which will be affixed to their profile, not only just on the Expert Witness Exchange marketplace, but you can use that wherever you go. Okay. Every year that will be revalidated. And in addition to that, we offer low premium, insurance for the expert witness work that you're doing. And we're also committed to education. So we're going to be developing education programs. I do want to mention, because he's not here this morning, that Michael Kaplan is a member of our validation badge committee. He's one of the people that is on the committee who set the criteria for validation. He's also our director of education, and he'll be working with me and with Simon and the others in the company to develop education programs.
Simon, can you talk a bit about how the process will work?
Yeah, the technology that we're using is new. Our technical organization has its background predominantly in the healthcare arena and in what's now current buzzwords, machine learning. Doing a lot of machine learning because we are pulling data from public records, of course, most of which are in document form. And we're extracting information from those to identify who the witnesses are, who they've been, what cases they've been in, which attorneys have been using witnesses. And the process will work by, firstly, the expert witnesses taking ownership of their profile in the system, which can be done by basically giving us your business card, and we will communicate with you. There we go, that's on. Sorry, machine learning is the word I used before. You'll be able to take control of your own profile, because we have information on already over 250,000 experts. And the idea is that you take control of it, you fill in any gaps that we don't have or any inaccuracies, you then apply the validation badge, and that then gets the whole thing vetted. And then when an attorney is looking for a witness, they will then go into the marketplace and using various different search criteria, depending on the way in which they want to look for a witness, they will be able to find the people who are in the data set that meet the criteria and then communicate with them, and the entire transaction is all managed through the exchange, so that the witnesses don't have to worry about the secure exchange of information, the administration of payment processes, the payments of funds, whether it be a retainer or whether it be money for hours work, right the way from the process of selection through to completion of the project.
So what is your thoughts on the audience of attorneys coming to the Expert Witness Exchange to find members of the NACVA who qualify in the program? What are some of the ways you're outreaching to those attorneys, and how will they be engaged in the site?
Well, what we're doing presently is reaching out to organizations and associations of trial lawyers, both plaintiff and defense, and they will also become our channel partners. So just like your association is a channel partner, we have channel partners on the side for the attorneys to bring them in. And what we're doing with them is supporting the associations in every way that we can. And in addition to that, I think that we're uniquely positioned because of the people that we have involved. Most of us are really well established in our fields. We have a lot of connections. We have a lot of people that we've been working with. I've been doing expert witness referrals for 33 years. So the associations know the quality of the work that all of us do. And right now, I really can't kind of tell you who we're bringing in, but we have a couple of big associations that are going to be partnering with us, and we should be making that announcement in a couple of months.
So Expert Witness Exchange, for those of you who are here at the conference, will have an exhibit booth in our hall just next door. And if you stop by and visit with Melinda and Simon and inquire about their profile enrollment process, for those of you who would like to be involved in the Expert Witness Exchange, you guys are giving away tickets to the Cubs game tonight. So if you don't have plans and you're interested in getting more referrals from attorneys through the Expert Witness Exchange, be sure to stop by and visit with Melinda and Simon. For those of you who are joining us online, within the next week or two, certainly by the end of this month, at nacva.com, you'll be able to search and find a link to the Expert Witness Exchange. What is the direct link to you all?
It's expertwitnessexchange.com. And if you go in on the homepage, it'll just, there's a big button, say, register my interest as an expert. Go in there and answer a couple of questions, upload your CV and a photograph, and you'll hear back from me.
Perfect. Thank you, though. Sure. Related to this Expert Witness Exchange or getting referrals from attorneys, also this summer we will be launching a pro bono program through the NACVA member directory. By logging into the member portal at nacva.com and updating your member profile with your picture, your firm name, your website, and any other details that you'd like to display on your directory, we're partnering with associations, legal associations, marketing to them to find members who, as kind of Rebecca alluded to earlier, don't have maybe a lot of experience, want to be more engaged, and attorneys often are looking for individuals who provide or are willing to provide pro bono services. You'll be able to complete your application in the member directory to apply to become a pro bono member. Then the attorneys who are looking for that type of engagement will be able to select from those of you who've enrolled in that program, and it will be a searchable field also in our directory. One of the other things I'd recommend you to do, if you haven't already, to go into the directory and update your profile beyond just this pro bono program. We invest a lot of resources in the legal profession, in the business community, directing those individuals to find a qualified CVA expert. In the past, an MAFF expert. If you hold an NACVA credential, we're out promoting the brand of NACVA and the certification so those individuals can find you. We've, in the past several years, been exhibiting at several sections of the American Bar Association, the Real Property, Trust, and Estates section. We've exhibited also at the Health Law section, the Matrimonial Law section, and there are a few other sections we've targeted as well. And when we're on site at those conferences, we tell those attorneys and those individuals to go to our directory to find our members. And so if you haven't updated your profile, I encourage you to do that. The last segment of this show this morning is relating to capitalizing on, for those of you who have the CVA or the MAFF, your certification in business valuation to become a more full-service business consultant for your clients. Joining us on stage now is George Sandman. Good morning, George. And Michael Gregory. George is the president of Core Value, which is a software company, but more than a software company. It is a tool that you can use to assess the core value drivers of your clients to help them determine how to increase their value for whatever purpose they want, whether it's a succession or an exit plan or just to improve the performance of their business. George, thank you for joining us. All right. Tell us a little bit about Core Value.
So, big subject. I'll try to keep it short. But so what we really do is help you when you sit down with a value and do a valuation. That's more often than not a one-hit project. And how do we then sit down? We look at we're looking at the client. We're sometimes delivering news that the client doesn't want to hear, which is, you need your company to be worth $28 million, and unfortunately, due to the risks inherent in the business, it's worth 24. And that $4 million is something that we have an opportunity to help them capture. So what Core Value does is it takes the valuation and makes it actionable. So it would give you an opportunity to go back to that client and help them increase the value of their business by making it run like its strongest peers.
So what it sounds like you're saying is you might be able to convert a one-time valuation into something continuing.
Into a larger project, whether it's on a project basis or a multi-year engagement.
And what does that typically maybe look like when that happens, or how are ways people have structured that?
So what they'll do is, most of our customers have multiple facets to their business. Mm-hmm. So they'll sit down, and evaluation is just one of the services they deliver. Business consulting is one of the fastest growing sectors, especially if we think in terms of the CPA market. Mm-hmm. And so what we do is we deliver an entire program which we've actually fine-tuned through a strategic alliance with the NACVA, so that we're layering training on top of it on everything from how to optimize so that you show up in search engine results, through how do you actually ask the client for the business, how do you position yourself as the person who can shepherd this process of increasing the business, in this case by those $4 million. So it's really an end-to-end system that's done in coordination with the NACVA.
So there are three core concepts, I believe, involved in the Core Value assessment. is it unlock, discover?
Sure.
Or discover, unlock, and what's the second?
So there's the Discover, which is a free initial assessment of company strength and value. And we really recommend that gets used as a lead generation tool. So you use it with everyone you sit down and have those opening conversations with. I guess it sounds a little bit like, hey, Bob, we've been doing your taxes for the last 6 years, or we just did this valuation. I think there are areas we can help you improve the business. Why don't we have, do you have 10 minutes to have that conversation? You then use Discover as the script for that conversation. And it's cool because it not only acts as a script, but it delivers an immediate report into their email inbox that says, here the company is worth X, it should be worth Y, and here are the top 3 reasons why you're getting this, these discounts are impacting you. They then move into Unlock, which is a deep dive analysis that immediately creates an executable growth plan. All of this is customized for the specific business.
What are some of through that assessment for your clients, what are some of the value drivers that are provided in that assessment, that initial assessment for the business owner?
So at both levels, we're asking questions across the entirety of the operation, and we divide that into 18 different areas. And it's everything from growth. Are you growing? Are you growing compared to your peers? Do you understand where you fit into the industry? Do you understand how the industry is growing? So if you're growing at 6%, congratulations. But if your industry is growing at 22%, we've got some work to do. So we put it all in context. And then it's everything from growth, sales and marketing, management. Is your senior management team clicking? Do they understand who's doing what? Where are the fences? How do they cooperate? It really comes down to, do you have formal processes and procedures across the entire operation that'll help you run like your strongest peers? Basically, how do you sit down in due diligence? If you're looking at your company from an acquirer's perspective, how do you look at your company and show an acquirer that there are no risks to the business, that you have the ability to generate future revenues and profits?
So for someone who might be interested in this, expanding their practice from a technical perspective, obviously for that valuation experience, moving into this area also would require them to expand from a marketing and branding perspective of their firm, even themselves. What are some of the resources that Core Value provides, not only from a technical analysis perspective, but to help the individuals really embrace moving their practice from, like you were saying, a one-time engagement with their clients to something more sustained and ongoing, the support that the Core Value process offers?
Sure. So we actually have just spent the last 6 or 8 months working with the NACVA, working with Dave Fine at ValueSource to update our resources. So I think right now there are 26 assets. They're in that resource center, and what we're describing it as having a consulting practice in a box. And I liken it as a box that has some finished pieces in it, but those are pieces you can also pull apart like a box of Lego and recreate to fit into your practice's marketing plan. And again, it's everything from search engine optimization. We have client slicks that you could brand and use with your clients. It's important, we take an Intel Inside approach. So when you're presenting yourself to your client, it's hard enough to win new engagements, right? I mean, those don't just fall out of a tree. So what we want to help NACVA members do is position themselves as a trusted advisor, position themselves as the person who can create that treasure map and do a lot of leading in getting the business executive from where they are today to the X where the treasure is buried. And that can be as simple as doing the deep dive analysis and saying, hey, here's what your company really looks like from an acquirer's perspective, down to, let's roll up our sleeves and talk about, how would you create recurring revenues? How do we get this business where it needs to be? So all of those assets that I just described in the resource center are crafted so that you are putting yourself as an advisor in the best light possible. You are not in the position of explaining who Core Value is, because frankly, your client doesn't care, right? They expect us to use technology to do the best job possible, and we do. They don't really, it's not appropriate for us to sit down and say, and by the way, I'm using a Dell computer and it has 128, that's not where you need to be.
Now, is there training and as part of the program between our association and Core Value. Talk about the training and, so that people do know what they're doing as they start to execute some of this.
Sure, that's a great question. And Mike actually has been through the training. We have a 5-day program. So when you're a new licensee, when you're new to the Core Value system, you get an orientation, and that's done one-on-one by our customer success team. You also then can participate in a 5-day NACVA training program that's called Build a Thriving Practice. And I think the name really describes what's delivered. We start on day one with here's the voyage we're going to take you on. Here's why Core Value is relevant. Here's what we're going to help you do with your practice. We go through case studies, and it's taught by NACVA members. So these are members who are using Core Value to help improve their practice, and they're sharing the recipe, the ingredients for how they make that happen. And Core Value happens to be at the heart of that, but it's actually the expertise, the men and women who are leading the sessions that's the most important part.
So we also have on stage Mike Gregory, formerly with the IRS. Well, not so formally, it's been a little while, but a celebrity in our industry who's a lead expert, also one of the correspondents on the AVW team who participated in our initial webinar series. Mike, from your perspective, what were some of the benefits that you saw and opportunities for members if they would be interested in expanding into that area?
Sure. I was involved with a pilot class, and it said 5 days. It was 2 hours a day for 5 days to go through this process. And one of the founder of this Chuck Richards, graduate of MIT, MBA. This has been applied to, I think, on the order of 5,000 different entities already. So it's not like this is something that hasn't been used before. And I really appreciated on day 3 when he talked to us for a fraction of that day, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. And he commented that what it really boils down to with your clients is who do you have trust with? Who comes to you? Who are you an advisor to? Is that an attorney, or a series of attorneys, or a series of different clients? And if you do, what are their needs? And it comes down to, if you can help them, or you have something that can help them, and they trust you, isn't this something that you might want to consider? Just so happened, I was flying here yesterday, and I read a new book. It's called The Outward Mindset. I'm not selling the book. I don't get any royalty. But I read this book, The Outward Mindset. And so to an extent, what you've just heard is, here are things that could be a new niche for you. You could make some more money here. You can become a business consultant. I am a business consultant. I look at how I have morphed from working at the IRS for 28 years, that I started off as a business valuer and someone who worked on IRS-type issues. That's what I was like 5.5 years ago. Today, I help with issue resolution and negotiating and winning solutions, but I tie that back into my business valuation background. So I've really morphed into that. So when I took this training, I looked at this from the perspective of, if you look outside yourself, of how you can help others, that's how I think you grow in the consulting business. But this book, I just want to share with you, these were their 3 major points. See the needs, objectives, and challenges of others. So what are their needs? What are their challenges? How could you potentially help them? Second item, adjust your effort to be more helpful to others. So now that you see that, I might want to adjust. And might Core Value be something that you could adjust within your practice? And let me ask you a question, just show of hands in here. How many of you would like to grow your business? Show of hands. Okay, most of you would like to grow your business. And I look at business valuation, we have a strong foundation with what we've done here with NACVA. Might you want to get into also helping to consult with that business? And then the third item is, we're not just doing this to have fun. We're doing this because we want to help, but we also need to make money. So the third item was measure and hold yourself accountable for the impact of your work on others. If I sum it all up, it's I'm there to help. So when I think of what I do as a business consultant and how I've changed, I still am involved with business valuations. I'm involved with conflict resolution with the IRS, but I'm involved with a host of different things today. Today I consult with a half dozen board of directors. I never would have guessed this when I started my business 5.5 years ago. I'm involved with things that sometimes involve up to $1 billion between 2 entities in terms of conflict. Fortune 500 companies. I never would have guessed this when I opened my business up 5 years ago. So I look at business consulting as you are really there to help. And this Core Value training, they ran through mechanics, they ran through An example, they ran through with people who are using it today and how they reached out to their clients from actual folks that have used the system and what kind of benefits this has provided for clients. As I was talking with George yesterday, and I said, this isn't part of your current marketing, but I said, if you could come in and say with these different firms you've helped, would you be interested in increasing revenue by 8% and potentially reducing your expenses by 4% going forward? Is that something that might interest you? And I'm not saying that's the right commentary, but is that something, you need a little hook to say, is this something you might be interested in? And then if there is, let's explore it further. And then we could go into these elements of discover and work with that entity and find out what those things are and work with the management to address those issues. So I looked at this as, this was a real opportunity. After I took this training, I thought, this is not where I particularly want to be. Okay, I need to make that clear. I'm issue resolution, conflict resolution, negotiating winning solutions. But if I was a business valuer, and that's what I did primarily, and I thought, do I want to expand into a new niche where I could help businesses be more efficient and point out things to them that they're so much caught up in the day-to-day work of what they do, they're not looking at the bigger picture. They need some help with their strategic planning. And if they're doing strategic planning, are they really asking the hard questions? I know in my conflict resolution business, I'm the guy that asks the 600-pound gorilla type questions. Because I ask questions, I just want to understand. I'm kind of like a Columbo, for those of you that are old enough to know what the TV show Columbo was. I'm kind of like a Columbo. I'm asking questions and I want to help. And I look at that as you're a consultant, you want to ask questions, you want to be there to help. I would take a serious look at this. I'd take a serious look and say, is that something I want to do? And if you do, I would explore this further going forward.
For those of you who are at the conference, George will be in the exhibit hall. He's also presenting a session, I believe Friday, and another session on Saturday.
Actually, this morning at 10:10 is the first
Thank you for reminding me about the conference I've been helping to plan.
Thank you
for being on the agenda. So you can visit with George while he's here during the conference to learn more about it. And for those of you who are online, you could go to nacva.com/core value to find more information, or corevaluesoftware.com. Again, as an association, our goal is not just to credential you in valuation, but to provide you with training tools to find your path into a specialty area, whether it be litigation consulting as an expert witness, rounding out your practice as a full service business consultant, exit planning, financial litigation. All the areas that we pulled into the NACVA training umbrella are geared to give you the technical resources to be successful in your practice. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Are there any AVW subscribers in the room? Great. So many of you are not.
Well,
The normal annual subscription for AVW for members is $355. If you're interested in viewing the monthly webcast, which is very similar to this as Greg talked about, there's short segments with experts. This presentation is a bit different this morning, where we covered a lot of things from an association perspective of what we're doing for you as members and the profession at large. But Greg and his team of correspondents on each month's webcast talk about more technical issues in the profession. Short segments like this, 10 or 15 minutes, but the normal subscription price for members is $355 through June 30th. The annual subscription is $195, which includes CPE, 2 hours of NASBA qualified CPE for each broadcast. If you're recertifying, the AVW subscription will provide, if you attend 8 hours of the AVW, you receive an additional 12 points towards your 60-point requirement. So 24 hours in the year, 2 months, 2 hours, 12 months, 24 hours, plus an additional 12 points to get you closer to recertifying. Jane Hurd and Amanda Villa in the exhibit hall. If you're interested in subscribing, stop by and see them. The archives are also recorded, and you can watch those. Even the historical archives, we've been running this program for about 6 or 7 years, and those are also included in the subscription.
let me just butt in a little bit, Brian. Couple things when Brian talks about the archives, you know, about all we can do on this show is a 40-minute, 45-minute interview. You know, we have Jim Hitchner coming up. We have Robert Samisi and Todd Zerig. We have Chris Mercer coming up. We have Roger Grabowski coming up. We have Jim Aldering. So we're getting some really good viewpoints on what's going on in valuation and what's going on in their expertise. Often what will happen when we get that level of contributor, they can't begin to say all they have to say in 40, 45 minutes on a topic. So often their slideshows, the slides which are part of the program, you know, are available to subscribers again in the archives as you listen. And you know, I am amazed at some of the depth of information that is available there on some of these topics. The other thing that I want to say, just to clarify a little bit, is again, it's 12 monthly sessions. If you can make what we consider live, that's great. We get really excited. We have about 100, 120 people most months.
Call lines.
On the lines. But again, if you can't make that, the subscription allows you to go back and listen later and get credit. So it's a very powerful resource, and it can count up to 24 hours a year. And if you make just 4 sessions, then you get that 12 bonus points that I know sometimes is the last thing I need for certification. I don't know about you, but I need to keep my certification too. So it's a very efficient way to get it. The last thing I'm going to say is we are always looking for topics. We're looking for input. One of the really hard things with the webinar format is you don't get a lot of feedback. And so if there's topics you might be interested in that maybe we have covered or would like covered differently or haven't covered, if there's things you'd like to hear or have presented, do let us know. If you have an interest in participating, we are over time, you know, correspondents come in and out. Right now, we're very pleased with our group, and of which Michael's one. But, you know, that is one of the many ways you can participate in this association if you're interested. So again, if you're not part of our show, if you don't regularly attend, we hope you will register and do so. I guess we all look forward to seeing all of you at the conference. I know I do, and getting to know everyone better and sharing our war stories, because we're out there trying to make the clients happy and get them the right numbers, just like you.
Yeah. Tomorrow's morning show will feature the current state of business valuation and financial litigation. It won't be so much of a commercial for the association like today. We'll get into a lot more technical content. The guests will include Mark Bello and Courtney Sparks-White, who chaired the Current Update course yesterday. Carl Steffen, who is the current chair of NACVA Standards Board. Howard Zandman and TJ Lyles-Timms, who specialize in financial litigation, will be guests talking about some of the current trends and issues in that specialty. So we'll dive into more technical topics tomorrow. But again, thank you for joining us this morning. A quick housekeeping note: to be sure on your attestation forms to record the session codes that will be in the back of each of the rooms as you exit throughout the conference. You'll need to record those on your forms. So just share that with your other colleagues to make sure you're doing that. This is a new process for CPE attestation. I want to also thank those of you who joined us online, live. Good morning. Thanks for coming. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Central. And for those who joined us on stage, Chris, Rebecca, Melinda, Simon, George, Michael, thank you for participating. And we'll be back here shortly for our opening keynote session with Peter Leiden.